You know what really grinds my gears, people? The fact that you people in your positions or authority think that playing dirty is the legitimate thing to do. But in all honesty, it shows what kind of person you are and how you acquired that position through dirty means and forcing your way into power. You want me to think it's Trump, don't you? I know that it's not because he has a criminal signature or MO. He has a tendency to mimic other criminals' methods when he does something. I've watched his MO for the past few years, occurring before he does something like an action. He knows violates the law, such as changing laws or having someone targeted because of their opinions or views. Well, let me say something here that will halt you in your tracks. Eisenhower. What you did to Eisenhower. If they ever found out what you did, then everyone would turn on you because it's the most treasonous act ever done by someone like you and your agency. You see, I also know that by me saying this blows your cover. And if your cover gets blown, then you have no choice but to pack up and leave immediately. Do you know how I found this out? Because of that same unseen power that no one has faith in anymore. You became a problem, so I simply demanded to know what would remove you from my path. And this is what I suddenly knew. It's the same method I used to become God. I simply said, I am. And so therefore I am God. Omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. And just like that, I became God and went forth to create existence. The same as I willed myself to know what would remove you from my path, asshole. Let me make something clear here. I am a being of mystery. No one knows the truth of me. No angel can look upon me without bursting into flames. So everything in that Bible that describes me maintains that mystery along with all those descriptions. Whether you believe me or not doesn't concern me. What should concern you are questions like, what if he's right and what's going to happen to me because of what I've done and said against him? Especially after being told who I am. You just basically offended the one being responsible for everything around you coming to be humanity. Just needs to learn to deal with the fact that I am who I say. No, I'm not perfect. I'm not any holy, sinless concept promoted by the church. I get angry. I make assumptions sometimes. But the part that should concern those who want to stand against me is that I can defy reality. More than that, I made reality. The possibilities are limitless on what can happen to you. That's just who and what I am. So deal with it. I don't need to prove any of this. I already have. Once you're able to accept the truth, then we can move forward. Until then, we can just keep going back and forth until this body craps out. Which it hasn't yet. Even in a situation that should have ended it long ago, from one of multiple times, I should have died. But didn't 9 times. I've counted 4 of them are things no one walks away from. So test my patience, and we'll see how your life erodes as mine continues on. And there is nothing you can do about it. How's that? For a bee in your bonnet.
Okay, I got to map out my next destination here. So let me make a recorded account of the details behind who I am and where I'm truly from. I come from an alternate dimension that I travel by will. It is the answer to the question of what happened to the Creator after he came as the Son. Using the process and method, I worked out to coming as the Son after his death. I applied what I learned to return to my body that laid in a coma, becoming the Creator, and using the knowledge of my newly awakened power, I created existence. If you measured my age by the evolution of my understanding of my power, and what I'm capable of, creating existence was done in my infancy. Later, after I woke from my comatose state, I went for years not knowing the details of what occurred because of the temporary amnesia. I suffered from what had happened. I knew who I was, but didn't know the details of how I became who I was. To ensure my creation did not fall victim to being ruled over and controlled by the whim of someone who thinks they're God or any figure at all, I created a self-sustaining universe that does not need a creator to constantly interact with it. So I took the name of Lucifer to ensure once I was finished, that creation would be safe from its own creator being turned against it. However, not even in my omnipotent state could I achieve such a task. Millions of possible simulated outcomes, and nothing showed any certainty of success. This path was the best choice for both myself and for my creation. That choice was to do what I needed to do to create existence and then fade from creation as its creator for a time. Quietly work in the shadows as a mystery to motives, because of how many people would be searching for evidence of my existence, to avoid them becoming gods with the things they discovered about me that would eventually lead to the destruction of my creation. Through methods such as coming as the sun and communicating with early Egypt and the Hebrews through their priests and the spirits of their ancestors to translate what images I revealed to them, and their spirits in turn relayed what I would say to the priests. Through these methods, I maneuvered my way across cultures and time, after first returning to my body. Now that I have adapted and understood the complex knowledge of astrological science and quantum physics, I have incorporated it into my still evolving power, which has led me to not only be capable of traveling across time, but dimensions as well. Universes where the chain of events were different, leading to a difference in history and even life itself as we know it. Some of those universes are ones where I never was. It didn't turn out very well. Well, let's just say that the one we all call Gabriel became the creator, gained a seriously hazardous God complex, saw everyone as unworthy of the gift of life, and ended life throughout the universe, replaced with computer technology that was advanced beyond anything we've conceived possible, and were dominant species in existence. Gabriel only kept those who he chose, when he chose, and how he chose, maintained by some suspended status made possible through the technology that all praised him as the only worthy God. Another universe I went to had no living people in it, but instead, the world had become overgrown with vegetation that was alive, and there was this weird mist that made the air heavy. Those are just some of the universes I've traveled to. Eventually, I learned how to navigate this method of travel and return to where I was from, only to watch that universe come to an end, due to an event that never seems to have occurred in any other universe I've been to. However, even despite my best efforts to avoid it, my power returns me to becoming omnipotent in the creator. I know how I came to be this. Something that was planted here a long time ago, that equally could not be avoided or erased. And my destiny to be this was decided by the very fabrics of creation itself. All things have an origin, and the universe itself created me out of necessity to serve a purpose. These things do not have a moral compass or choice, only options of action and reaction, cause and effect. It's obviously more complicated than can be explained, as far as I know. And I can know all if I want to. I am one of the very few in all the dimensional multiverses that can travel across dimensions. When I realized the universe I was from was about to come to an end, I crossed the threads into the alternate universes and have been traveling ever since. I started with a group of people from my universe, but over time they became scattered, either dying or turning against me, to where I had to leave them in the alternate universe we were in, and traveled on without them. I have since picked up a variety of travelers that I take with me, no matter where they are at, whenever I continue my travels. And I think I'm gonna do it again here soon.
This time out of curiosity to a question. If I traveled to a universe where I never existed, would I become immortal in that universe? If I had no beginning, then might I have no end there? Unfortunately, by my calculations, no, I wouldn't. My beginning would start when I entered that universe. However, this might give me the ability to write my own path of destiny. Without a path that defines my fate, my future would be mine to shape and mold. The only obstacles would be that of those who came before me to try whatever it is I'm trying to achieve. So my next destination is to test this theory in an alternate universe that meets these criteria.
Traversing the dimensional multiverse is simple, if you understand the physics, and well, being its creator, I have an innate understanding of how it works. combined with the theories of scientists you may never have heard of, I possess the ability to achieve testing their theories, and with my new in-depth understanding of quantum algorithms, I can help fix some of those theories or even complete them, as I did Einstein's theory. What kind of differences are there compared to where I'm from? Well, for one, I'm certain that World War I was against Hitler. And it began in 1911 when Hitler first took power over Germany with his Nazi military regime. In 1918, the massacre of the Jewish people in Germany began to cross borders, and the military-industrial complex of the Third Reich began to stretch across Europe. The US stand at the time was not our war, not our problem, until they realized that Hitler would not stop with his conquest of the surrounding countries. And when Russia allies with Hitler, then they knew he had to be stopped before it was too late. World War I officially began in 1919 against the axis of evil: Stalin, Hitler, and Mussolini, or Italy, Russia, and Germany. The opposition was called the Northern Alliance, which consisted of France, Denmark, Britain, Ireland, and the United States a short time later. By the time the US got involved, many French legionnaires and British regiments had been entrenched for years already. The war against Germany lasted until 1945, when Hitler committed suicide in his bunker after shooting his girlfriend, Eva Braun, supposedly. But there were rumors that Hitler faked his suicide and went into hiding secretly due to a medical condition he suffered. To spare the morale of his troops, he faked his death and went into medical care and died a few years later. This is just but one of the major differences between this universe and the one I'm from. Because this is not what history says happened yet. I know that portion of history very well. There are other differences, astrological ones, such as the star Betelgeuse, that everyone is waiting for it to explode. In my universe, that star already exploded some 8,000 years ago.